I have another question about fault sharing. As you know, sometimes when we update massively an array, a big array, and this array is contained in the cache line, and we have some trouble about performances. There is any tool to detect easily this kind of problem?
Easily. You know, false sharing is an artifact of a cache line being a certain size, data being smaller, and unfortunately sometimes you have two data elements that happen to be on the same cache line, but you're using two processors and you get a ping pong, you get cache. Oh, it's horrible. Your performance can get really down. The best tool, the tool that I use to find this is vTune, Intel's vTune Performance Analyzer, because it understands the hardware, it can show you what's happening exactly. It can show you that cache lines are being swapped back and forth. Even that, though, it requires that you understand a bit about the hardware. There isn't some magical tool that I know of that you just run and says, hey, guess what? False sharing right here in your program. Instead, vTune shows you that there's a lot of cache thrash. You go into it, you realize that one processor is accessing part of cache line. It's banging back and forth. Even when I suspect it's false sharing, you know, pulling up vTune, running it, pinpointing it to verify it, it's not hard for me because I'm used to vTune, but I would never describe it as simple either.
Okay, I understand it's quite difficult to recognize false sharing, but have you some advice about coding?
Well, absolutely. You know, I mean, ultimately the way to escape false sharing is to try to make sure that you've segregated your data so that the different processors working on it will not share. One of the first things that people forget to do is pay attention to their memory allocation. Often the reason false sharing is confusing is statically laid out data people get right, but they do mallocs, and they do small mallocs, and they never think of the fact that they've got these data structures, all these little malloc items, and they're causing false sharing. So with threading building blocks, we include a thread-aware memory allocator, and it specifically is very conscious of not doing allocations that split across cache lines. So you should find some memory allocator. The one that comes with TBB is fantastic at this. That's one. It does several things to improve performance. The memory allocator, one of them is to avoid false sharing by making it rounds up the mallocs a little bit, or it makes sure that it's not allocating things that split across cache lines. Pay attention to that. Otherwise, if you can understand the sources of false sharing and think about which arrays are being shared, try to divide them up in such a way that minimizes false sharing. Don't do something like split up the data accesses so the odd elements go to one processor, the even to the other. You want to do the high numbered and the low numbered. You might get a little false sharing in the middle, but you laugh, but the interleaving, I've seen it, and that can cause massive false sharing. Giving the odd elements to one, the even to another, generally never a good idea.
Yeah.